Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Have You Ever Played podcast, the only Overwatch 2 exclusive podcast on the internet. I'm Matt, aka Matt Fondude, and I'm with my co host as usual,
Yes, I'm James, aka James04E, aka the most hydrated person you know.
aka the Trivia Master, aka the Game Slayer, aka the best player of Dota 2 in this call.
Yes.
That reminds me of my week, getting into the week. So, we want to talk about Overwatch 2 because I've been playing that, but I also turned on Dota 2 yesterday.
Damn.
And I played a grueling, 45-minute round, which I quit at
Mhm.
the 45-minute mark. The game didn't end. I assume it went on for 20 more minutes.
Damn.
Um, I would love to tell you my experiences with that video game again, and
Sure.
how I need to reaffirm every couple of months why I don't play that game.
Mhm.
Yeah, so let me just tell you, and I want your honest reactions to each thing I say. Like, I'll tell you my journey. So I get an invite on Steam.
Yes.
It says Dota 2 invite. I laugh it off at first because I'm like, ha ha ha, no, I'm not gonna play that game. That feels like a Dota 2 thing or like a CS thing where you'll
Yeah.
get an invite for a game from a person you haven't talked to in 10 years and you haven't played the game in 10 years, but they're like so desperate for like a full stack, they'll invite you to the
Yeah.
game.
I mean, for me, within our friend group, I get sent an invite to play Dota every single time they start up the game. And it is always at either A, the most inconvenient time possible, or B, when I just don't want to be on Dota.
I also get those, and I haven't touched the game in like months or
Yeah.
every like couple months. I'll like turn it on, and I'll be like, "How bad could it possibly be?"
Mhm.
Because League is kind of fun. Like I kind of can play League and have fun, and I'm like, "Yeah, this will be fine." So that was my first mistake. I install the game. I look at all of the art, and I'm like, "Wow, this game looks really good," and the UI is really nice, and oh, wow, these skins okay, well, they're not skins, they're, like, equipment pieces. Why is that one $400? Why is that one, like, $500? Who's buying $500 swords? Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm like, "This is a really cool system where everything looks really cool," and I like that they're not just skins. You could, like, you can combine different pieces to make your own
Yeah.
outfit, except they're selling these outfits. I mean, I know Valve isn't selling them. I'm assuming it's using community marketplace
Yeah, it is.
numbers. Yeah, so it's like here's a full set of Juggernaut armor is like for one of them is like $500. Like,
Yeah.
okay, well that's good for the whales who are playing, I guess. But that also means you're playing one specific character. You're not doing that if you're playing this game. There's so many characters. I'm assuming you're playing multiple characters.
Sort of. So in games like League and Overwatch, there's a one trick culture, but that isn't as common in Dota because Dota has like very hard counters. Like
Mhm.
for example, there's a character called Pangolier. He like rolls himself up into a ball and like moves around and stuns people. Right, everything he does is like about movement. Then there's a character who can make you take pure damage for every single unit you move. So if he uses that on you,
Oh
if he
my
uses that
god.
ability on you, you don't get to like your abilities will kill you. So
Yeah.
it's like
That
stuff like that.
so that just put that file that in the vault of things that Matt doesn't know and like new player things that new players don't know when playing the game. So we'll file that. That's number 1 example then. There are characters that will like fully hard counter you. Okay, so I asked my friends, "Hey friends, who's a really easy character in a really easy position to play?" Because
Oh
I
no.
tried support and I don't know where to place the wards. So let me just can I please who is the lowest effort uh character? So they told me to play the off lane. Who you play?
So
Um
oh god.
uh which that seems to immediately invoke some sort of response in your heart.
um so for the viewers, our friends play Dota in a very we'll say interesting way. And I would personally not want them to teach me the game.
Mhm.
So that I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, so I was asking them questions such as Is there what should I use for the, like, guides? And they're like, "Oh, you can use guides in game now."
Oh no. Oh
So,
no.
I also well, at first I had asked them, I said, "Who do I play?" And I had remembered that Juggernaut is a character who spins, and I like to spin in ARPG kind of games. That sounds like Juggernaut seems like a not terrible character to pick up as like a first kind of, foray back into the game. So I'm like, cool, I'll play
Mhm.
Juggernaut. Um, we get into a game. Someone bans Juggernaut.
Yeah.
First immediately. So I'm like, "Oh, I don't know who to play," and then they didn't help me. They're like, "Oh, well," they're talking about a million they're like, "The ratio on the character and the pick ban," like, they're just spouting off 40,000 different,
Yeah.
meta game like, before the game even starts, there's, like, a 20,000,000, like, rock, paper, scissors match going on, and I'm like, "Who do I play?" So I just pick Axe, which was a mistake because I thought Axe would hit things hard. Didn't realize he's, like, get hit hard, the character.
Yeah. Yeah,
But we'll come
he's
back to that. Um, so I'm like, all right, I pick the character. I'm in the game now. I say, which lane is top lane? And they say, well, it depends because the lanes are different. And I'm like, why? Okay, whatever. Because top on depending on which side you're on, top is different,
Oh
which is
man.
okay. Um, but I'm like, okay, how do I use a guide? And then I was like, why are all the guides in Russian? And
Oh man.
they're like, "Just pick the offlaner guide." I'm like, "What? Is there a way to browse?" They're like, "Just find one that says offlane." So I figured out how to I figured out how to turn it into English, and I just picked some random guide. And I see in the guide, at minute 47, you should get this like every single minute of the game is mapped out, and every single permutation of any matchup is mapped out. And I'm like, "Oh, that's not fun." But that's my
Yeah.
personal taste. I'm like, that doesn't seem
Yeah.
fun. Um, But I'm like, what items do I buy at the beginning of a game? Like, cause there's the tango I know you can like get for healing. I'm like, do I buy mana potion? Like, what do I buy? And just no responses. I'm like, okay. So I get into the lane. I'm like, I guess I should harass people as Axe. And it's like, I have the slow walk and I can hit people. And I'm against Life Stealer or Life Taker or whatever, and some
Life
other
stealer, yeah.
random character. So I walk up to the character and hit them, and then I like die basically instantaneously. Um, so I die like 3 times already, and I was like, oh, so we lose, right? Because it's just I just fed basically. Um, and yeah, we were just in top lane, and then at one point, so that was like maybe the first 20 minutes of the game, just me dying. Then it became like, all right, well, we lost that lane. Just go to the jungle and grind for the rest of the game. I'm like, so where do I go? And then I started hitting the ancients because I didn't realize that that's a separate thing in the jungle.
Mhm.
Um, so and they're like, don't kill those people in the jungle. Kill the other creeps in the jungle. I'm like, how would I know that? Why would I
Oh
know that?
man.
So I'm killing the things in the jungle, and then I think like maybe like 40 minutes pass, and I'm like, I'm contributing nothing to the entire game. I'm spending most of my time walking around the map, not knowing what to do. And then I eventually I get the blade mail and blink dagger, and I'm like, all right, I'll do the thing where I blink in and get them to hit me and then put it on. But by that time, it was every enemy on the enemy team had a stun and would just like
Oh
target me
no.
and stun lock me to the point where I couldn't do anything. And I was just hearing like TikTok children. I turned off all the communications, by the way, but you still hear like the TikTok children like chat messages that appear, which is a terrible,
Oh,
terrible
the
system.
chat wheels.
Yeah, why would they think that was a good idea to put in the game?
It's fun, but so how did you how did you mute the enemy team? I
I
guess.
did the thing in the settings where it's like it says turn off like all communication. So I don't think I saw what they were typing, but I could still sometimes it would be like, "Wow, this guy's really stupid," or like whatever the character line was. And then
Mhm.
there's like 400 effects happening like on screen, and like everyone has their flashy outfits that cost $4,000. And I'm just like, wow, this is not fun at all. Like I like maybe this would have been fun if I was playing the character I wanted to play. Like it was so bad to the level of like not only is the like I'm like, "Oh, maybe I'll try this character." It's like, "No, you're not allowed to play that character. You're not allowed to join this fight." And also it's just like, "Matt, use the neutral item shop." And I'm like, "What? What? Okay." the neutral item shop. It's like, well, obviously use the neutral. Now, like the game is completely different from when I played it too. Even though
Yeah.
I played it again recently, but it's just like, how many systems can they possibly add to this game to make new players not want to play it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, um,
Hmm.
immediately thing that they did wrong, they didn't make you play the tutorial. There was a new tutorial that was community made.
Hmm.
That's mostly up to date. You 100% need to play that.
Community made is kind of a rough term there. Um, I mean, I can imagine it's really good,
Um,
but I'm just saying they had to make it, and it's not like
yeah.
an
So it's made by like casters and analysts who are partnered with Valve, basically.
yeah.
Um, Another thing, God, starting people off playing core roles is rough
There's
because
so
you have to
many
think about lots of
systems.
things. Yeah. Um, Also, normally, if somebody's like just playing, if somebody's just starting to play the game, I would just tell them to pick like one of the basic stunning characters, which I could literally give you a list. Like you would have to be
Mhm.
specific, or you have to be specific when you're trying to teach people a game like this. And about the builds thing, no. So the builds that are in game, they are meant for. They're overly detailed. First of all, as you mentioned,
Yeah,
like
for
like
no
get this item
reason.
at 70 minutes, 7 minutes. They're meant for people who want to get better at the game, but don't actually know what a guide for getting better at the game looks like. It's a bunch of like buzzwords and things like that. The stuff that you would think like, oh, this new cool concept will make me gain 1,000 MMR. Like, no, it doesn't work like that.
It was like at 3 minutes, get boots. If you fail to get this, like here's the tree diversion. Do like this five other things.
Yeah,
If you're not here at 45 minutes, turn the game off. You're screwed.
yeah,
Um, yeah, which
yeah.
kind of goes
So
into game length. I'll let you. I'll let you continue because you're the expert here.
yeah, for builds, you either so when you're teaching somebody this game, you either need to make a build for them, or you need to have them use a website called Dota 2 Pro Tracker, which documents the essentially the average build for a character and just gives it to you like straight up, like get this item, get this skill. Like it's really simple. Exact order. It doesn't like get you into all these weird compartments or give you all these weird like comments and things like that, because you don't want to have extra variables to think of. You want to have like a cookie cutter build that you could just do every game with very little variance. Like situational items don't actually matter until you're like this game's equivalent of like platinum, pretty much.
Yeah, that is another thing. There's like too many active items, and I like okay.
Yeah.
So every feature that I think people who enjoy this game find enjoyable in terms of like the customization they now offer with active items, and now there's like a stat, kind of like a league style stat. Like when you level up, you can choose to level up like a passive kind of level up
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And then there's skills, and then there's also the neutral items, and there's a lot of things that probably make the game really interesting and replayable, but they make it for a new player so confusing and so overly complicated, combined with the like overly toxic community on like a
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
guess you have to kind of be like I don't know, it's like when you join any game, you're just gonna have people like flaming and like shit posting the whole time, which
Yeah.
is fine. But I mean, it's something with the Valve competitive games that it's just kind of like always rubs me the wrong way. Where it's just people being like, it's like, oh, it's part of the game, and it is kind of funny, but it's just people like absolutely shitting on you like the whole game.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads me to I think the biggest flaw is the game length. And I think people, you'll have an opinion on this, but I think in general, people, even if they like the game, I think maybe are a little bit concerned about the game length.
Hmm.
Because our game went to like 50 minutes, and I ended up just quitting because I'm like, I'm not. Me being alive is actually a detriment to the team because I'm just feeding more money.
Yeah. So about the game length, I think first of all, you need to when you're learning a game like this, first of all, you need a 5 stack. I don't know how many people you're playing with, but if it wasn't a
It was
five
like
stack, then it's
4.
gonna yeah.
It was like almost
It
5 stack.
literally has to be 5. It cannot be like 3 or 4. It absolutely
Hmm.
has to be 5 in my opinion. Um, Also, part of the reason why it has to be 5 is people need to know how to end the game, which is um something that lots of players that haven't played the game a lot do not know how to do because they don't know like their like timings and things like that, which is complicated stuff. Not on the newer player at all. That's on the experienced players to help you with. And also, this is the good part. There is actually a mode that accelerates the time called Turbo Mode.
Okay.
Basically, the idea is everybody has golden XP faster, towers are weaker, your courier is faster, all that kind of stuff. It's basically made to make the game end earlier. And it
Mhm.
actually is quite popular. Like you'll find games in it very easily because there are lots of people that only play Turbo.
Yeah. That actually sounds fun.
Yeah.
That jumping ahead a little bit, after this, we played my friend's other favorite game, CS:GO, which has a similar vibe.
Oh
That has a
no.
similar vibe, but I think I can enjoy that game more on a surface level of like, all right, there's advanced stuff that's actually kind of fun to learn in that game, but
Uh-huh.
on a base level, you can just enjoy shooting things and running around and kind of memeing.
Yeah.
I think that game they introduced a half round where it's like a game mode where you play half of the rounds and it's
Hmm.
way faster. And so this blitz mode is actually kind of interesting because I think that before I would maybe play CS:GO with them and I'm like, it's just fun, but I really don't want to sit through an entire like full length game. But I think shortening these shortening these matches is my preferred gameplay, I guess. I
Hmm.
like the I like the brevity of matches like in Overwatch 2 or something like that, where you if you're having a bad game, it's gonna not be a 50-minute bad game. Like you're gonna get in and out, you know. You can try it again, you know. I think I learn
Yeah.
better that way than losing for like an hour.
Yeah, that's perfectly valid. Um and yeah, so the general thing with Dota is that I think, and this has been a problem for a while, the new player experience is extremely bad.
Yeah,
I think that
I would agree.
it comes from the fact that the game is a mod of or was originally a mod of an already hardcore game. So it's like you're
Mhm.
almost doubling down on like the niche audience that already knows what they're doing. And I think Dota's a great game if you're like already into MOBAs and like you're looking for like absolute mastery. But if you're just playing casually, I would say that the other MOBAs are 100% better for that. And I also think that the MOBA genre in general isn't too new player friendly, which again stems from the origin of Dota, which was one of the original MOBAs. And I think that's something that's, oh man, the genre is so old, and there's starting to be like so much fewer of them that it's actually really hard to say that they can like pinpoint it. And maybe it's just something the genre is going to deal with forever. But I do think there's still a lot of work that can be done in that department.
I think I mean, first of all, with Dota and MOBAs, they're not my cup of tea in general, gameplay
Hmm.
wise. So regardless, I mean, I could be complaining about my experience, but I know that Dota 2 is obviously a good game. Like people
Yeah.
enjoy it. But yeah, like you said, I think I have this issue with other games. And I was thinking about this with CS:GO about how like if I played Dota on launch basically or when if I was in really early when no one had any idea what they were doing and the systems were a little simpler, I think if from there to now, it's so hard to jump in now. And a lot of games have this issue where the more competitive like esport games, it's like there's so much that was learned over time as a community that
Hmm.
diving in it feels almost like overwhelming on how to like get to where you need to go.
Yeah.
I've had that issue with like I think with CS:GO is kind of a thing. I'm excited for CS:GO or for Counter Strike 2 because I think that'll be almost like a soft reboot of how the game is played. So if I get in early enough, it might kind of make it easier for me to learn stuff. But it's kind of
Hmm.
things like how if you play CS:GO everyone you can like look up YouTube videos like everyone knows all the smoke setups, everyone knows all these different things. Like there's a lot you can learn and that's cool because there's that depth, but it's so complicated. It almost makes these games like your job in a way
Hmm.
where I think something like an Overwatch 2 or like Call of Duty, while they have, people who play them competitively, I think just jumping into a game, putting like 15, 30 minutes into a game and then like quitting, I don't know. I kind of like that more, but maybe I
Hmm.
just don't like esport kind of competitive format for games.
Yeah, that's definitely
You know?
understandable. It's not for everybody.
Yeah,
There was one thing I wanted to say, I forgot though. Maybe it'll come back to me one day. Who knows?
yeah. Well, That was my Dota 2 experience again, just so unfun for me personally. I think it would have been less bad if it was like if I played 2 rounds in that 50 minutes instead of 1 round and I kinda learned from
Mhm.
that first round. But the idea of queuing again after playing an hour-long match was like, "Nah, that's I'm good."
Yeah. Okay, actually, I do remember what I was gonna say now.
Mhm,
So yeah, another problem with getting into Dota is that Dota's had a very, I guess, like static player base. Like it doesn't gain or lose players very frequently unless there's a new custom game coming out or like it's around the international, so like people are buying the battle pass and stuff. So these people have been playing the game for a very long time. Even the low level players have such a massive pool of knowledge that it's hard to even like get at that baseline.
mhm,
So that makes it even harder to get into, I think. And there are new player modes and stuff like that, but the problem is you can't play that with friends.
mhm. Yeah, I don't know, Dota 2, not for me.
Hmm.
Um, maybe I'll find I hop around too much in games to ever really be, like, competitive at one game, but, I guess getting into my week a bit, I've been playing a lot of Overwatch 2. I've almost actually completed the battle pass in that game, which will be a first if I do, because 'cause I've never
Ooh,
completed a battle pass.
damn.
Um, you just play matches, to, like,
Yeah.
level it up. I th I could be wrong, but I think the system they use is and this might be the same for every battle pass, I actually don't know. But the system they use is it's like I think it's a fixed amount of XP per, like, rank on the battle pass. So
Hmm.
it's not like it gets harder toward the end. It's like, "Oh, just keep playing the game and you'll always be making consistent progress." Um, so that's not that bad. I don't really like their battle pass monetization or that edit, but, yeah, it's been fun. I've been playing a lot of the newer characters. I was playing Sojourn, who apparently is gonna get nerfed or has been nerfed.
Oh my
It's
god.
she's like Soldier. I don't know how much you know about this character.
I know a lot about Sojourn.
Yeah, she's like Soldier with a projectile as her like gun, and right click is a hit scan beam that like shreds people instantaneously, which is kind of bullshit if you're good at hitting it.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's very bullshit. Let's be real. I know, and I'm like, wow, she's actually really fun. I wish she wasn't as maybe good because now I feel like scummy playing this character, but the character kit is fun because I was playing Soldier, and I'm like, Soldier's really fun, and I'm like, oh, Sojourn's kind of like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Overall, characters are fun in Overwatch still.
Yeah. So,
What do you, do you have a
so yeah,
Sojourn story?
so Sojourn gets nerfed to literally every patch. It's
I would
it's
imagine,
actually
yeah.
crazy. Yeah, it's literally just for really good players. So the devs have said the data basically says players that aren't really good at the game are not very good at Sojourn, but players that are really good at the game are oppressive on Sojourn, and it's
Yeah.
because of how the railgun works. Like basically, if you can hit a headshot on
Oh,
any
you're done.
non-tank character, they just die instantly.
Yep. You're
So
completely done.
yeah, it's basically always a railgun problem, and then it's like they tried to nerf her like energy gain and stuff like that, so she wouldn't get it as frequently. But at the end of the day, it's just the peak of having the railgun. You basically turn into like a widowmaker with
Mhm.
much more flexibility, and you can like position very differently because of how mobile you are.
Mhm.
And then her AoE damage thing used to slow as well.
Oh god.
So like people would just
It's
get like you'd be
already
going through,
strong.
yeah, you'd be going through a choke and you're just like, oh, I'm just stuck here. Like I'm in mud.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Overwatch 2 seems to love having AoEs that are on the ground that do damage, like, so does
Yeah.
Ramatra has that too.
Hmm.
It's very similar, and, I'm also noticing an Overwatch 2 problem where the skins are starting to make me confuse characters because some of the characters are just, like so Kiriko, I always think is just Baby Diva running out of mech. And I'm like, "Oh, there's Baby Diva." I'm like, "What?" Like, and half the time there's so many skins that I'm just like, "Who is this?"
Yeah.
Is that like there's starting to become an issue where like, oh, I think Kiriko honestly is one of the lamest designs of all time for that game. She's just a person in like an outfit.
Just a person.
Yeah, and also she has like a line. I forget what it was, but someone was playing her and she had a line where it's just like, You're my like, am I your waifu, basically? It wasn't like that it was something like,
Oh no.
Can I be your girlfriend?" It was something weird like that, I'm like, "Oh, this character's so stupid." Not like the new
Man.
character, Life Weaver, who is epic.
Epic and
Um,
Pog.
so there's a new character for Overwatch 2, I've yet to play, I don't know if he's even playable on the playtest.
He's not playable yet,
Uh,
I don't believe.
so there is they're called Life Weaver. They are, some sort of, I believe, Thai character. Um, I
Mhm.
don't know really anything about I saw, like,
Yeah, I
some of the
don't
gameplay video.
yeah, I watched the gameplay video and I've looked up the abilities. I don't really know the origin of the character, like the narrative stuff, I guess.
He's Thai.
Yes.
Um, he has a pink rose, he's shredded, he has fantastic hair and robotic, like, wings, like, which is pretty great. I think this character design's actually really fun and kind of,
Mhm.
like, fun. I mean, really fun and kind of fun. Um, yeah, I think this will be a fan favorite character just from their
Yep.
design. I
Yeah, I
feel
mean,
like they seem really difficult to play.
yeah. I was looking at some of the articles. People were saying like, yeah, this character has way too much grief potential. It's gonna ruin some low level games.
Yeah, do you want to explain what abilities this character has?
Yeah. So for their left and right clicks, so their left click is Healing Blossom. Hold to charge a healing burst, release to heal a targeted ally. And they have Thorn Volley, which is rapidly fire a spread of projectiles. I'm assuming this is just damage.
Mhm.
Their passive is on death. They drop a quote unquote gift that heals the first enemy or ally to pick it up.
Strange.
Um, then for the regular abilities, they have Pedal Platform, which is you throw a platform that springs upwards when somebody steps on it. So basically, they step on it, they just get blasted up into the air. Rejuvenating Dash, which makes you dash towards your traveling direction and lightly heal yourself. And a Life Grip, which pulls an ally to your location and gives them a shield as they travel to your location. And then their ultimate is Tree of Life. It's basically this big tree that blocks projectiles and continuously heals people inside of it.
Now, this character seems really technical and is going to
Hmm.
be really good, probably at a competitive level with communication. But they seem like they're going to be so bad in
Yeah.
casual and also be used for griefing constantly, like throwing people into pits
Oh my god.
and knocking people up. I mean, May is already people can kind of grief comically with May, and now you're getting more. I honestly I don't know what you would use this like outside of doing some really like stupid combinations. I don't know what you're supposed to do with this character in like solo queue. Uh,
Um.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, God, I have all these imaginary scenarios. So first of all, I think it's really funny that the passive can get picked up by enemies because I'm just imagining it now. So imagine you have a life weaver on your team, right? You're about to ult. He blocks your ult with his ultimate. Then he uses his pedal thing to blast you up into the air so the entire enemy team shoots you. You barely survive, but he dashes in front of you and drags you into a pit. So you fall off the map. Then he runs into the enemy team and drops the heal for them as he dies.
Oh god, I just that made me just think of something. So people are gonna play this character with Anna, and is it Anna or Anna? By the way, do we know
I
Anna?
think
I
it's
think it's
Anna.
Anna.
I think
People
he
are gonna
says it
play
in one
this
of her
character with
lines.
Anna, and Anna already has the anti heal and like crazy utility, like you can sleep people. So Reaper is gonna jump into a group at alt. He's gonna get anti heal, then pushed up into the air, blocking everyone, and then die. He's gonna get like insert character here is going to alt and then get just knocked out of the way like constantly. I can't imagine them being like. I mean, every character that's new is kind of busted usually,
Yeah.
but they don't seem like a Moira. I don't. I'm not saying Moira is broken, but Moira can be played by like the worst players of the entire game, including myself, because I play Moira when I don't want to think and I'm having a bad game of support. I just go Moira.
Hmm.
And you can play Moira kind of smart and heal, and you can play Moira like an idiot and just only do DPS. But you
Yeah.
can kind of get away with it a little bit and in casual, you know.
Yeah.
This character seems like you actually need to like think. But again, I've been proven wrong by characters being like, this character seems hard, and then they're just, busted. But eventually they'll get into a
Yeah.
state. Um, I'm glad they're introducing a new support though instead of a new DPS. Something like new supports are always the hardest characters to add because they have to like do things that aren't just like shoot other player in a different way.
I think they've so you know people talk about Kiriko and how they think it's silly and all that, but I think they've done a good job with the newer supports of giving them like lots of skill expression. And also I mean like as far as just raw kill potential, like they're if you look at the original sports like Mercy and then you look at like Kiriko will put you down if you
Well,
like mess
Kiriko's
up.
crazy. She's like
Yeah.
a. I think Overwatch has been. I don't know about this character, but Overwatch has been doing a thing, and maybe it's just by nature of how many characters are in the game and the limitations of a first-person shooter, MOBA esque character shooter. Um, but they seem to be having characters that are like almost like the Smash term Echo Fighter, where it's like, oh, Kiriko is it's like taking Zenyatta and then combining like a Brig element and then combining like Hanzo's clan, like taking elements from characters and just kind of like mushing them together. Same thing with
Mhm.
Sojourn, who's kind of like Soldier, but kind of like Baptiste with the jump and kind of like, like just mixing and matching these different elements, which I think is cool. It's kind of remixing. It almost feels like, oh, if I like Soldier, then I'll play Sojourn and Baptiste because they're all kind of similar gameplay styles. And I don't hate that. I think if they introduce characters like this character has a crossbow instead of a bow, it's like you don't have to
Mhm.
charge it, but it's slower and does it's just taking elements and just kind of remixing them. I think that's kind of neat. Um,
Yeah.
I think Team Fortress 2 kind of did that with weapons instead of having fully new classes because you can kind of change how they played.
Mhm.
Um, but now in this game, we're just getting full on new characters, which is kind of, again, like we've talked about in the past. Where's the limit of how many characters you can add to this game?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting discussion, the kind of doing like riffs off of existing characters because I think it's definitely more accessible than doing completely new things with every single character. It's also more sustainable. So I think that when we
Mhm.
talk about like, you know, the inevitable limit of characters that they can add, I think that kind of increases it without necessarily making it too much to follow. Because like somebody can say, "Oh, this is kind of like Zenyatta" or something like that. So it's like whether it's on your team or on the enemy team, it's just a lot easier to track what they're doing, and you know you don't have to like overload your brain with all this new information all the time.
Yeah, and new matchups. Although, like I said, uh, they need to make characters stand out a little bit more visually, which most of them
Hmm.
do, except Kiriko is just like I can't tell if this is a baby diva wearing one of the 900 skins in the game. And also, a lot of the new skin designs, especially in the battle pass, are just like RGB, cosmic, glow. A lot of them are like Asian theme and also RGB, cosmic, and like glowing skins, which look kind of like cheap mobile game bad, to be honest, rather than
Yeah.
like the personality of like, oh, let's have a McCree, but he's like surfing McCree. Instead, it's just kind of
Hmm.
like he's like Giga glowing rock McCree with like glowing eyes and giant angel wings from Diablo. Yeah, it feels very like Chinese free to play mobile game.
Hmm. Yeah, I do agree that the character design issue of it's not just adding a bunch of characters like, oh, you know, how many before it becomes too overwhelming for the players to think about, but also like how many until we can literally can't tell the difference between these characters like visually.
Yeah,
And
it's like mhm.
you can't obviously artists are very creative people, so I'm sure that won't get too bad. But when you're adding skins onto it, it can get to be a little much. I think at times.
And also just how do you keep coming up with interesting ways to have combat in first person?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there seems to be a difficulty with that, and especially like how do you come up with new ways for people to heal people and new ways for tanks to have like how many more shield variants can we have? Like to be honest, we have holding up a shield. We used to
Yeah.
have putting down a shield. Now we don't.
Hmm.
Now you can like put a shield somewhere. That's a Sigma, and
Yeah.
it's just like how many more shields can we incorporate?
Yeah, when Ramatra came out and I saw his shield, I'm like, wait a minute, this is just Sigma, but like slightly modified.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Like
Yeah.
also Ramatra seems from what I've read, Ramatra is actually kind of like not great. But when you're playing in casual lobbies, it's really annoying.
Hmm.
Um, I have seen that if you just play Zen or something, you like put Discord on him or a focus down or Ramatra. Um, it's not bad. Also, I think a lot of
Hmm.
tanks have a feature where if you shoot them while they're holding down this feature, they get powered up or get a shield. And when you're playing in public casual matches, people just shoot them during that, and
Oh
they
yeah.
don't know what they're doing. So they're like, "Oh, Doomfist puts up his arms. Don't shoot him. You're charging his ability." And people just don't like, and that's how it's balanced. It's making those characters stronger in like casual because people genuinely have no idea that they're making like they're losing. Like people just shooting Zarya shield. It's like okay. I mean, maybe it's not an issue later on, but in casual matches, like, what am I supposed to do if my teammate is always powering up Zarya to 100%? Like, what do you even do?
What do you mean?
It,
Stimulus. I shoot at it.
it's just I don't
Neuron
know.
activation.
That's the classic Overwatch problem of like
Yeah.
playing an extremely important like 5v5 team based game with no microphones on casual single like by yourself.
Hmm.
It's like this game is completely built around and probably is the most fun and best played when you're playing with full communication on a full team, but that's like never happening. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think going back to what you talked about a bit with how much can you do with an FPS in this with all these abilities and stuff. And I think it kind of makes you think FPS is a great genre for like immersion and things like that. But as far as like actual awareness, it's actually really hard. And
mhm.
when you have all
Oh,
these
100%.
variables and stuff to think about, and you also don't have a mini map in a game like Overwatch, it's actually very overwhelming, like very quickly for lots of
Mhm.
players. And I think that does influence the kind of abilities they can work with, really. So it's kind of
I
interesting.
I think the ping system is one of the greatest at additions to the game for
Hmm.
casual like solo queue because you can just ping when the inevitable like Hanzo is just behind your enemy team and everyone has like a YouTube video on and listening to music and no one turns around and your whole team gets killed because they don't turn around. Like you can at least ping like where they are.
Hmm.
Um, but I've had things where it's just like one of the stupidest things. This must be just some like mental thing. People, there'll be a Mercy just standing like can kill. You could just shoot her, and people will just shoot the tank. And I find myself doing this sometimes too. Just shoot the healers. No one
Yeah.
shoots the healer. They're like, oh, I'm supposed to shoot the tank because of the tank. It's like no, just kill the healers. To stop just only shooting the tank. Like I don't understand why
Hmm.
people are just drawn to only shooting the tank.
It's
Um,
because it's easy to shoot the biggest thing,
it is
the biggest
true, but
target,
it's
the
just like
easiest thing to
weird.
hit. Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, I don't
It's
know.
just
It's
again, how much impact do you have in a match of Overwatch solo queue? And at least now that I've been playing DPS, I feel like I have more impact. Where
Yeah,
sometimes
definitely.
when I was playing support, it would be like, well, I can heal and I can heal this person, but if they're not getting any kills, then like I can't. There's nothing I can do. It's
Yeah,
just like
yeah, it's rough, especially with like the whole solo queue culture that lots of these competitive games have. It's actually very difficult to look at lots of these games and realize like I literally cannot win this, but I have to
Mhm.
like stay here. Like as I was looking at like a bunch of statistics on solo queue in these games a while ago, and it's basically saying you can expect that 60% of your games are winnable. Period. Like not even you're going to win 60% of the games, but in 60% of games there is an avenue to actually win. It won't be easy necessarily. It maybe like 1% chance, but in 6% of games you can win, or 60% of games you can win.
Yeah,
And like
I think most games you can, but
yeah.
I think that there's also this level of well, I turn off pretty much all communication in games now, like competitive games, especially
Hmm.
if I was playing competitive, I would play with mics and I would go full all in. But
Yeah.
in quick play, I don't want to see my team chat. I don't want to see the enemy team chat because what you're gonna get is someone just typing in like bad team, like bad player, bad whatever. Usually
Yeah.
that person is the problem,
Yeah, the
and then what will happen is someone will be like, your Genji, who's terrible, will say bad healer. Everyone will say bad Genji, and that person won't leave, and then they'll just like make the game worse. It just becomes terrible
Yeah, I think
because now it's just hostile.
my favorite is always the DPS with like lower damage than either of the healers who are also like actually healing. We'll say something
Hmm.
like tank diff as he runs into the entire enemy team like 1v5 like why didn't you protect me tank diff? It's like
Yeah,
damn man, I can't help you.
I don't
Help
want to
yourself,
interact with
please.
any person on any video game online competitively.
Yeah.
It's just so bad in every situation. Um, Yeah, I don't want and,
Yeah.
like, the thing about with competitive is too is, like, I don't wanna talk to anyone, I don't wanna talk to strangers too,
Mhm.
and, like, I used to play competitive, I would go on mics, and, like, it was fine, but you're so in the game at that point, it's like, I don't know, I kinda wanna just relax, like, it's again, it comes back to, like, it becomes more stressful than relaxing, it's like, I just wanna play this game after work and chill. I've hit the dad era, where you play FPS
Mhm.
games at, like, really early in the morning, and you just see all the dads on because 'cause they're like, "Hey, I have work, and I'm gonna go play, like, for an hour."
Yeah.
That's the community I wanna be a part of, and
Mhm.
Deep Rock Galactic, just people hanging out. A game you haven't played yet,
Yeah.
probably
Oh
still,
my
right?
god. Yeah, I still haven't played it. I man, my friend who me install it just hasn't asked me to play it, and I keep asking me to play it. It says maybe another time.
Okay. That game is one of those maybe another time kinda games, though, because it
Yeah.
is, like, you grind in it, and you're like, "Alright, I'm good." Sometimes you'll get the itch.
Yeah.
Um, I got the itch to grind, I every so often, I get the itch to play an MMO.
Mhm.
So I looked into playing RuneScape, and okay, a game like RuneScape, because I didn't wanna pay the membership, because now it's, like, $12, crab hands, whatever. Um for old school RuneScape. So I'm like, what can I get the itch of old school RuneScape? So there's a game called Melvor. Let me look at it actually. There's a game called Melvor Idol. It's on Steam. You can look it up. It's actually a free
Mhm.
web game and it's an app, but it's like $10 on Steam. And it is an idle like cookie clicker kind of game. Um, but it's RuneScape. And apparently Jagex is the publisher now, so it's officially published by Jagex, which is
Ooh.
cool. So it has like all of the RuneScape skills and stuff, and it's basically RuneScape without the moving around and online stuff.
Mhm.
And so it's like I can just do Slayer and do all these things, and it's been actually pretty fun to play, and it's scratching that grinding itch. But I installed RuneScape 3 to try that, like the newer version of RuneScape. Do you know about RuneScape history at all?
A little. I mean, I've heard like whispers and tidbits about it. I know it's complicated.
So there was RuneScape Classic, which was the original thing. It was made by two
Yeah.
brothers, and yeah, whatever. We'll skip that.
Yeah, I
Then there
played
was
that.
RuneScape, old school RuneScape, which well, there was RuneScape when everyone played in 2007, all the kids, whatever,
Mhm.
and that morphed as it updated into what is now modern day RuneScape or RuneScape 3, and that game still exists and keeps getting updated.
Mhm.
Eventually, they made old school RuneScape as like a spin off thing, whatever. Now people play old school RuneScape. Uh, but RuneScape 3 still exists. So I'm like, how bad could it possibly be? Because it seems kind of interesting. Maybe I'll play it because there's a lot more free to play stuff in that.
Mhm.
So I've over the years have been collecting um Twitch drops for RuneScape 3. Every time it's on Prime Gaming, I get the keys. Um so when I logged into the game on a fresh account, level 0 on everything, fresh account, I logged in, I had like 170 or maybe like 200 loot box keys.
Mhm.
And so there's a system in the game where there's loot boxes, and you could just open them, they have whatever. I also spawned in the game with the Bandos chestplate and a Saradomin sword, which are in old school RuneScape are like very, very valuable armor. So it's
I
like
can
I
tell by the
spawn in
name.
with, yeah, essentially like I'm assuming in RuneScape 3 it's garbage to be honest because it's so much power creep, whatever. But I'm
Mhm.
assuming I spawn in with like god tier stuff. It's not god tier, but it's like okay stuff. Um, and I spawn in, I have all these a million systems, and I get EXP lamps that let me level up skills without playing the game.
Mhm.
And I was just sitting there. opening up loot boxes for like an hour, and I'm like, well, okay, I haven't even started playing the game, and half of my skills are like almost maxed. And what am I even like? What is the point? It just had like 15 different systems of payment, and I'm like, what do I even do in this game? And it's
Yeah.
also like experience the content of like 20 years. Like where do I start?
Oh man, when you said you were opening the loot box and you're like, I haven't even experienced the game yet. I'm sitting here like, Matt, that is the game.
It really was like I didn't experience like there's YouTube videos of people maxing skills and like maxing accounts just by doing loot boxes and
Hmm.
never like moving. And it's like this doesn't seem if the game if I turn the game on and you're throwing a million ways to skip content and cheat and like get levels and pay at me, this game's probably not gonna respect my time in any way going forward. Like, what am I gonna do if there's like no accomplishment? If you spawn in a game and you just like get imagine playing a game, right? You turn it on and you just like it's kind of like what Fallout did at one point where you every DLC is unlocked at once and it's like here's
Hmm.
the god golden fist, the god golden armor, the god golden whatever. It's like this is just ruining my experience because I want to start from the beginning. I don't want all the OP stuff like right off the bat.
Yeah, Borderlands kind of does that with golden keys as well.
Mhm. I remember with Borderlands, you could just edit a notepad file to give yourself
Oh
infinite
God.
golden keys, which I did. And I'm
Oh
like, man,
yeah.
turns out this was a lesson I had to learn as a child too with Game Shark and
Hmm.
with Action Replay. Turns out when you remove all challenge from a game by having infinite health and infinite one-shot weapons, makes the game really boring.
Who would have thunkered?
Yeah. It really makes the game boring when you're just OP.
Hmm.
So yeah, I bounced right off of RuneScape before even doing anything in that game,
Hmm.
which was very sad. I mean, old school RuneScape's still cool, but I don't know. I don't like aspects of the game. So and it costs money.
Hmm.
Have you ever got like sucked into an MMO at all? Any kind of MMO?
Yeah, I used to play Adventure Quest World when I was
Oh
younger,
yeah,
and
I think
yeah,
we talked about this.
I played that game so much, and then one day I just kind of stopped.
I did that too, and that game didn't that game have a system where it's like you could pay money for membership, and then they would just throw like god tier stuff at you, like you'd have crazy
Hmm.
armor. Um, I just remember playing that and having like so many armor sets that were OP that I'm like, what am I even doing? Like I have everything that I could ever want.
Hmm.
Same concept. That's the problem. That is the danger of the free to play MMO. The free to play MMO will always nickel and dime you for everything, and features that are nice like changing hairstyles and like changing cosmetics, like nickel and dime, $10, $20 here.
Hmm.
But I also don't want to pay a subscription for a game that I don't play that often.
Yeah.
So, all right, James, what have you been up to in your week?
Well, thank God we spent so much time on your week because I don't have very much to talk about.
Okay,
Yeah. So, as I told you before the podcast, my cousin was visiting and he was staying in our basement, which is where my setup is. So I couldn't really play very much stuff. But what I did play, I played Apex as usual, not too much new there. I played a little bit of Dota. So I have decided that whenever I'm playing Dota, I'm gonna have a goal, so I can come out of the session and saying like, okay, even if I lost every single game, I at least like made some progress somewhere, like came out of it with something, you know.
good
Um,
mindset. Good mindset.
yeah, and so my goal for this week was to learn like some summon unit heroes. Particularly Beastmaster is what I was playing. Basically, he can summon this boar that like slows people and a hawk that just gives him vision. You know, I went to my games like, cool, I'm gonna play Beastmaster. I'm gonna have so much fun. And then 3 games in a row, 3 different people blind picked. So how Dota pick phase works is both teams pick 2 heroes at a time, basically, and they cannot see what the other team has picked until after everybody has picked. So I got blind counter picked with Chen 3 games in a row, and what Chen does, he takes control of enemy units, whether they be neutral units or just enemy controlled. So he just takes Beastmaster's controlled units, pretty much.
That sucks.
And it's
Like
like
that.
so yeah. Yeah, and I was just like, wow, what are the odds? 3 games in a row when my specific goal is to learn about this hero with summon units. This guy just follows me around the whole game and steals them.
That just sounds so unfun for one side of that
Man.
team dynamic.
Well, so I can itemize different things to kind of alleviate that. Like, normally Beastmaster would build things that make his summoned units stronger and things that like maybe give him more summoned units and things like that. I didn't build those, but I'm like, well, I I I can't. I'm still playing Beastmaster technically, and I even won one of the games, so it wasn't too bad. I'm just kind of sitting here like, well, I had this objective, I was excited for it. And I'm like, I can't do it because like I just can't play the character normally. It's like, wow. I was talking to him I'm like, well, I'm a little sad now.
Yeah, I'm glad your dreams were crushed like mine too, where my objective was play the one character I thought I could play, and that was dashed immediately.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's rough.
Any other weekly gaming updates?
Um, Not too much else. It's kind of the normal stuff, the normal rotation. I played a little bit of Slay the Spire. At this point, I just play the game as kind of like it's like a brain exercise, I guess. I don't have like any. I've kind of done everything in there. I just play it to have a little bit of fun. If I'm playing like Dota or Apex or something, I'll play it a little bit before, just warm up my noggin. So I'm not going in cold. I'm not going in
Hmm.
cold brained. But
Yeah, I
yeah.
feel that. That makes sense. It's good to have a game like that. I've been playing a little bit of Mega Man, and I have a bunch of random things that I've been playing, but I've talked enough. Check out my Silent Hill 2 playthrough on YouTube on the Matt Fun Dude YouTube channel. That's what I've been up to for a while. That game's spooky and cool. It's not actually honestly not that spooky, but just a cool game. Um, I kind of thought Silent Hill was gonna be a lot more like jump scary, like oh booga booga.
Hmm.
Um, Turns out that those games are just kind of like cool puzzly, like puzzle. They're just kind of cool puzzle games and with cool atmosphere. Um, Not necessarily just like ooga booga jump out at you, but yeah. Maybe we should hop into some questions. I pulled up some really interesting questions. TM.
Oh
If
boy.
you have any questions you want to send us, you can send us the questions at hyep podcast@gmail.com. That is the HYEP podcast@gmail.com. I'm going to just read some of these random website questions off for you.
Oh boy.
They are interesting. Let's see. I had one of them was just like, what's the best PC gaming, laptop gaming, or whatever? No,
Oh
I'm not going to
god.
ask that. That's a stupid question. Um, Oh, I had a really good one. A really good weird one. Where was it? How have video games changed over the last 25 years? There's a lot
How?
that's changed. And also 25 years ago, you look back, it's like, "Oh, that's been a million years." It's like 98 or something, or like 96.
Hmm.
It's like not that far back. It's like basically the 2000s. It's like, "Oh." Um yeah, I mean, if games, I think this is very hacky almost to say, but like games had to be complete back then because you could not update them.
Hmm.
So, like a game would launch more complete than it is now. Now games usually launch and they're day one patch like 400 gigabytes.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Oh god.
Just racking your brains about that.
Ugh.
I mean,
I mean,
in a
I don't even know how
if-
to respond to this. Like, that's such a large question.
well, there's a lot of things that have changed.
Um, you know what? I'm gonna give the silly answer. They've gotten worse. Modern games
The
bad.
modern games bad, classic games good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Qbert fire, Call of Duty bad. Call of Duty Modern Warfare good. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 good. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 bad. Yeah, that is weird that like there's like reboots now for video games.
Mhm.
It's gone the movie route of, like, soft rebooting video games and remakes, like, every Resident Evil game getting remade. Like,
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4 just, is out. Kinda
Mhm.
we like, I like it in a way, but it's also weird, that these games are getting rebooted. Silent Hill 2 is getting a remake too, which
Yeah, I think
Konami likes money, so it might not be good.
it's an economy thing, because it's like you know that these things are gonna sell because they're older games that people really like, and instead of taking this risk on a new project that might cost more and might take longer to make, might not even end up getting released, and
Anthem.
obviously won't even and obviously won't definitely be successful. It's like it's rough, and in that department, I don't necessarily envy people that work on the business side because it's actually pretty hard. Like, cause could you imagine, like, putting all this trust in a new super creative game, and then it just, like and then you just lose a bunch of money on it?
Well, the thing is too, most games now that are being made are like evergreen multiplayer games where the content is infinite, where it's
Mhm,
like it's a multiplayer kind of game experience. There's not a lot of single player stuff being made outside of the indie
mhm.
scene. Like, are we ever? I mean, I would say Valve will probably give us a Half Life game at some point,
Yeah,
which they are big enough and they make enough money through other means to actually want to put out a single player game.
mhm.
Uh, I mean, Doom. I think Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal were single player, but didn't they both have like a multiplayer mode that no one played?
So yeah, Doom 2016 basically had, like, a Quake multiplayer mode where it's a standard, like, all the modes, like TDM, it was like an arena shooter.
Hmm.
Then Doom Eternal, the multiplayer was, like, you'd play as 3 demons, and there was 1 Doom Slayer.
Oh, that's
And so
fun.
it's like asymmetrical. It was fun. I haven't played the game in a while, so I don't remember if they've actually added the, like, Dark Souls invasion thing where it's like you're a Doomslayer playing through your campaign and other people can join in as demons and, like, try to
Oh,
fight
that
you and
sounds
stuff like
fun. I
that.
would play that.
Yeah, they showed it at E3, I think, when the game first got announced, but I haven't heard much about it since. I haven't played the game in, like, a year and a half or so. So, for all I know, they could have added it by now. But
Yeah. I don't know, like, multiplayer, we're not getting a lot of that. 2D, I guess, again, indies are holding it down. A lot of
mhm.
indie games are kind of the games I enjoy the most because they're actually making games, that I wanna play. It is weird
Yeah.
getting to an age where nostalgia marketing is targeted toward you and the
Oh
things you
yeah.
liked, and there's been a ton of, like, Game Boy Advance inspired games and Wario Land likes, like Pizza Tower and Anton Blast,
Mhm.
which I'm all for. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, obviously, monetization of games is crazy now, where everything is like the micro transaction and how DLC is now. DLC used to be like expansions, and now DLC is like a given for every game and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I think you could just look at The Sims as a series as a master class in what has changed in video games over the last 25 years. Just
Yeah.
like from The Sims 1 to Sims 4 and then now 5. Um The Sims 5 is going to probably have a battle pass, which will be sick. Um there is a ton. The Sims 4 is ridiculous with their like DLC.
Mhm.
There's thousands of dollars of DLC for that game, and you're just getting less and less content. And also on the store, there's like so many microtransactions. It's crazy. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, just like I don't know, stuff like that. I think honestly that's probably the biggest thing is just the move toward competitive games, multiplayer games, and like the monetization of games.
Mhm.
This is a great question. How much money do you spend on gaming? You don't have
Oh
to answer
boy.
that.
Uh,
Too much.
sheesh. Yeah, too much. I mean, so recently, uh, not very much. So the only money I've really spent on games in the last month has been obviously getting Deep Rock Galactic and Scott Pilgrim versus the World when they were on sale. So I was like $15. Then, oh god, I was being very silly with Apex. So in case you don't know, Apex has this item called an heirloom. It's basically like it's a
Mhm.
melee weapon you can get for your character that they just hold instead of their like fists when they're running around. And they
Ooh,
have like all these crazy like inspect animations and stuff like that.
that's how they get you.
Um but yeah, so I was the idea is you get one every 500 loot boxes that you open. And you obviously get a lot of like loot boxes from like leveling up and stuff. And I'm like, I have this like feeling. I feel like I'm really close. So I'm just gonna
Oh
buy like
god.
10 loot boxes, and I buy 10 loot boxes, and like I don't get them. Like, oh, certainly I'm close now. I'm gonna buy 10 loot boxes.
Oh
This went on like
no.
maybe like 5 times. I eventually did get it, but it was just like, sheesh. And the funniest part is when I on the 40th to 50th loot boxes I got it on the 40th one, so I just had 10 more, and I'm like, oh, I could have just bought one.
I've been there with certain game like honestly, Team Fortress 2, even though like even like more recently when like no one even cares about Team Fortress 2, there's something alluring about, and Valve does it really well, their gambling mechanics. Um when you open that box in CS:GO or TF2, it's like, especially CS:GO with the fake like roulette wheel or whatever, it's like, oh my god, like am I going to get the knife? It's like $500. It would be really cool. And like I want the cool thing, and give me the thing. It is very tempting to want to buy a loot box. Um I haven't spent like stupid money, but I've spent like I honestly I think the dumbest money I've spent on games was when I was younger with MMOs, like the Nexon published
Oh
MMOs,
no.
like Maple Story and like all these like Mabinogi and Vindictus, like buying the dumbest things in those games. Um just spending money on gift cards. I mean, the Nexon Karma coin was my Fortnite $19 Fortnite card. If I was a kid today, well, one, I would be playing Fortnite probably just because everyone plays it, and I would be spending all my money, all my Christmas money and stuff on Fortnite cards. So I get it.
Damn.
Um, long as the day of buying PSN cards and stuff like that,
Oh my
gift cards.
god. I remember the Microsoft points. I remember
Yeah.
those, man. Ah,
Honestly,
those are good times.
they have a really good purpose because as a kid you don't have a credit card. Well, now who knows what people are doing, but you don't
Yeah, I
have
don't know.
some sort of card. So the gift card was essential. You needed the gift
Yeah.
card to do anything.
Yeah, now people just
Um
steal their parents' gift or debit cards or
yeah,
credit
now their
cards.
cards
Yeah.
are hooked up to the account and they go like spend $20,000 on microtransactions. There's
Oh
so many
no.
stories about that. Like not like
Yeah.
20,000 not even being an exaggeration.
Yeah,
It's like,
like
what can you
Jesus
even buy in
Christ.
Fortnite for
Like I
20,000?
think legitimately the worst thing, the closest I ever got to that is like when a while ago Borderlands was on sale on the Xbox Live store for like $10. I was $1 short in like Microsoft points, so I used my mom's credit card for it
I'm
to get
sorry.
$1. And she found out and she was so mad. And now I look back and I'm like, damn, I got in that much trouble for $1. I can't imagine the kid spending 20K.
What did it cost? Everything.
Oh man.
Um, no, yeah, 20K. Then parents are probably trying to like charge back, and then the company. I believe your account gets banned if you charge back on Fortnite. There's a whole
Oh really?
thing. Yeah, I believe. I heard a news story about
Hmm.
Australia. This is going to be right off the dome. Probably completely wrong. They might be, or someplace is going to be making games with a microtransaction loot box system like that. Any kind of gambling, they're gonna have to market it as mature.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to. It becomes like an M rating automatically. I really do think there needs to be a crackdown on some of the payment stuff because it is gambling. The gambling aspects of a lot of these games is crazy.
I
Um,
think in Europe it's starting to get outlawed. Like I know in Belgium for Apex Legends they actually can't sell Apex packs, or you
mhm.
can't buy them rather. I guess it's both ways. And there used to be a thing where people would switch their account to Belgium so that instead of getting the loot boxes, they would get like crafting materials, which is like you can use them to craft like certain skins and things like that instead
Hmm.
of rolling for them in a box. And then they removed it.
Ah, I In a lot of ways, I think the battle pass is a better system and more honest. I think
Hmm.
there's a FOMO element to the battle pass, which is scummy, and the solution is just make it so that you can buy any battle pass at any time and then just use
Yeah.
it. They don't want to do that.
I believe Halo did that with Halo Infinite.
Some games do that, yeah,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of they don't want to do that because it's like we can recycle it, and also it's like you didn't get John Wick from season one. What are you? I get now play next time play it and buy our boosts. Like they couldn't sell
Hmm.
boosts if like there was no rush. It is
Yeah.
that FOMO. Like I'm gonna follow that FOMO right now because I'm probably after this podcast gonna go grind because I'm almost done with the battle pass. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be away for a bit, so maybe I want to get this battle pass figured
Oh
out.
man. Yeah,
I'm
it's the
so close.
almost. It's the almost that
Or
are always the most dangerous.
you know what the
I
scummiest
swear.
thing is? I
What?
I do be looking I'm looking at it and I'm like, I could buy a boost actually with real money
Oh
and make sure I
no.
get it. I'm really close, but it's like I can make sure I get it so I don't have to worry about it. You know,
Man.
it's only a couple dollars.
Oh no.
S- Scum.
I
All right,
swear,
let's
I swear, almost is how they always get you. Every
yeah,
single
we're over
time.
time. This was a good pod. I'm Matt, aka Matt Fun Dude. You can follow me on Twitter. I don't use it ever, basically. Um, go to my YouTube channel, Matt Fun Dude on YouTube, and check out my Silent Hill and YouTube Shorts that the kids love so much.
The
And
kids.
yeah. What are you, James?
Yes, I've been James04E. You can check me out on Twitter, Twitch, and the YouTubes.
Nice. All right, that's a
Nice.
podcast. Goodbye, everyone.
Epic.